Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Erie Playhouse. Erie Gives continues to unfold. We are just after 5:15, and I've got an update for you. We have reached $55,420. Excellent. That's 222 different gifts making up that $55,420. If you have been with us all day long, you know that earlier in the day we said we had hoped that maybe we would match last year and end the day at least at 60,000. Our annual fund goal for the year is 214,000. And if we got all the way to $139,000 today, that would secure our entire annual fund for the year. We are not expecting to do that. However, if we did do that, boy, what a great day that would be, right? So we are at 55, as I said, and it'd be great if we could get to, let's say, maybe we could get to 65 in the next hour, add another $10,000 to our total, and again, make a huge stride toward our total goal for our annual fund this year. As a quick reminder, you can give online at eriegives.org through midnight or by phone at 814-454-0843 through 8 p.m. So if you're going to give by phone, make sure you make that call to the Community Foundation by 8 p.m. I do believe you can still head to the Community Foundation in person. That's at 459 West 6th Street, where the big Acorn is on West 6th Street. They do have a drop box as well. If you're there after hours, you can drop your check off as well to the Community Foundation. It sounded like I said check off.
It did. Chekhov's donation.
Yes.
I'm going to mention it again in the third act.
That's right. That's right. Oh, well played.
Yeah.
Well played. We've got a great group joining us right now, if you can't tell, and also Patrick Theme. No, I'm kidding. We love you all. This, of course, members of the cast of the Da Vinci Code. So happy to have you guys here with us today for Erie Gives. And if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself, your name, and the character you played or your role within the production. We'll start here.
I am Bunny Manchester. I was the assistant director.
I'm Kate Theme. I played Sophie Nauvoo.
Pass those microphones.
JP Driscoll, I played Sir Lee Teabing.
Kyle Philbeck, I played Silas.
And I'm Patrick Theme. I played Tom Hanks. Robert Langdon, excuse me.
Wonderful. And I, of course, had the pleasure of directing this fun ensemble as well. It was an absolute pleasure. It really was. It's a really fun piece of theater to work on. And Kyle's going to disagree
I have
with
to
me
shout out
already.
because Bunny also did the fight choreo, which was a
Yes.
huge part of everything. So
Yes.
we got to give the resume credit there as well.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So I know a big challenge for all of us was that this is a wordy play. It is a cinematic play. And so there were a lot of challenges that we faced as a team and worked through together. I'll start off. Let's start with Patrick. Why don't we? Patrick, again, I said wordy, right? A lot of that was in your hands as Robert Langdon, who's the main character of the show. Talk a little bit about what this experience was like for you as an actor.
That's interesting. A lot of people know that I had a brain aneurysm last year. And so I didn't know if this was something I was ever going to do again. I truly didn't know if I was going to be on stage again. Didn't know if I was going to be able to memorize. So this was very much a challenge to see if I could do it and see if that I was still capable of doing it. And that was a lot of fun. And thank you for the question. But the other thing that I want to mention too is that you talk about the technical challenges of the show. We had an additional character in the show, which was our tech. We had screens in the back and on the sides. And as actors, we had to avoid making sure our big fat heads didn't show up on the screens. But more importantly,
Unless they were supposed to.
but more importantly, we had to, it was its own character. And without those screens and without those projections that Brittany Lee did, we would look terrible up there by ourselves.
Yes.
We were made more beautiful.
Not yes, you would look terrible.
No,
That's
no,
not,
I heard you.
There was more to that thought, but
No.
Yes, I was going to say I want to talk a little bit about Brittany and her contributions to the project. We'll also in a little bit take a quick look at the trailer as well. But before we do that, Kate, following up on what Patrick was saying, with his health issues last year, and the two of you were actually originally slated to perform together in Guys and Dolls.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously you were not able to do that, but this production presented an opportunity for the two of you to work together as a couple on stage. What was your experience working on this show?
this was terrifying. There were so many lines to learn, and it's such a daunting task. I don't know if anybody else feels this way, but with music, I learn music quicker and easier. And when it's just line after line after line, paragraph after paragraph, it's way more terrifying to me than being on stage in a musical. So having the ability at home to be on our way to a rehearsal going, okay, scene 5, act 1, let's go do this one. Or one of us would say, would start with a phrase and we know what scene that would be. And we would just, it was repetition. And he worked so hard. He worked way harder than I did at memorizing, and was just constantly going back to the script to renew the memorization. And even through Tech Week, I mean, we were still looking and revising lines that we maybe revised ourselves, but it was, and that terror did not go away once the show opened, because I think because there are just so many pauses and breaks in musicals that you can say, my song is done, I'm going to go sit for 20 minutes. Whereas in a play, oh no, like we barely left the stage in act 1, and we didn't really have a little break. So it was just this constant need to be on top of the lines that I've never, ever I think this show, I think I can confidently say these are the most lines I've ever had to memorize.
Kyle, on that kind of same line, in terms of the difference between working on a play and working on a musical, we tend to see a fair number of folks who audition at the Playhouse regularly for plays and who maybe don't come out and audition, or other way around. They audition for musicals. They don't typically come out and audition for plays. I think you probably have fallen into that category.
Is that
in the
an
past.
attack?
Not at all. Not at all.
Yes.
Quite the opposite. My hope is that, as someone who, is primarily experienced in musical theater and worked on a play like this, what would you say to others who maybe have been so focused on musicals that they've not auditioned for plays in the past? And what was your experience?
That's a lot of great questions. It's
If you can answer like one of the 12 questions,
well, no, I mean,
that'd
I
be
think
great.
it all kind of flows together. Like, I always roll my eyes when I hear like, oh, not at you, Kate, but when I hear like, oh, it was so scary, I'm like, okay, whatever. And then you get into the setting where I'm a singer and I didn't have my voice to like rest upon or whatever. And so you're doing this show, and then you said to me multiple times, like, it's a very different character for me. So it's like, I felt very out of my element until about a week before we opened. And then I felt great. Something clicked into place. I think you give yourself permission, you hear the feedback that you need to hear from the two of you, and you start to feel confident. But I would say do it, because I really think coming out of the show, it deepened my like artistic ability, in my opinion. I feel much stronger as a performer for having done it. And it was scary all the way until the end. So that's my experience, and that's my recommendation.
I was going to say too, so much of the lines were very specific facts and
Yes.
figures and historical events that maybe JP can speak to. And it's just like you kept thinking on stage, if I get this wrong, do I throw the whole plot off?
Yeah. And JP, I wanted to go to you next. So that's a perfect transition. You did have so much of that material that, is in the hands of a less capable actor would feel like what we call an exposition dump, right? But that you managed to bring a lot of life and energy and meaning to. So how do you approach that? First of all, just the volume of material, but how do you make that feel so alive and not just, well, here's the information that you as an audience need to understand the play?
It could, what I think we accomplished as a group was, even though it started out with Robert Langdon giving a lecture, the entire play could have been a lecture,
Right.
in its historical significance and everything. And I mean, on that note, my minister actually pulled me aside about 2 days before we opened and said, everything that you're saying is actually historically accurate. And then I had my oh my God moment, because when you're doing, there have been times where I've been doing a Shakespearean play, and you'll see people in the audience with the play reading along as you're as you're saying the lines.
That's not
And-
intimidating.
And
Right?
I've been there where, like, playing Horatio, and a woman like 2 seats in said, "He just missed a line." And I wanted to yell at her and
Wow.
say, "No, it was cut by the director."
You should have.
Sure, blame the director.
break the
But-
the fourth wall.
But with that in mind, a great deal of it, I think, came between just as in character work, me finding my relationship with Patrick, and that we were old friends, and establishing that this had been something that the characters had debated and talked about, so that when Kate came in, it was, I'm educating you in this, but this is also something that is commonly shared among us. So it became much easier, especially working with these two and Kyle, but working with these two in our moments of conversation, because it was, once we got on stage with each other, it was a continual feedback loop between all of us. So yeah, I mean, it was.
And finding those moments, like we would have rehearsals where we would find these moments and discuss something and be like, well, he's saying this because of this. And you both have these moments of, that makes way more sense now. Thank you. And just being able to do that. And like JP said, the relationship between Teabing and Robert Langdon is very special. The play doesn't give you a lot of chance to explore that, but we found the ways that we could have that relationship without the script.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So
Just put that anywhere.
that's where that
A
comes
ghost just spoke in the theater. Yeah.
Can I say, I think to be an actor, you have to have an ego. But to be a good actor, hold on,
Hold
there's
on.
more.
Caveat.
There's more. But to be a good actor, you have to have like a balanced ego. So you have to be able to know that you are here to do a job, and like that you are good enough to do it. You deserve to be here because you're here. You deserve to do it because you're doing it. And also, there was no ego checking that needed to happen. Everybody was so willing to play, and that is so refreshing and fun. So much of the play is subtext. Yes, it's a bunch of information, and the people who've read the books and seen the movies expected to know the story, and that's great. Awesome. But for me, what I enjoy is the human element, and just your chemistry between you. You could tell that these people respect each other, and that these people just genuinely enjoy each other. And it is such a breath of fresh air to watch people who enjoy playing, because it's a play, not a strife. So it's fun.
Yeah. So hang on to the mic, because I want to, this next one's for you. I want to hear more about working with this ensemble, and we should mention, in addition to these 4 actors, we had an ensemble of 10 actors total, and they played multiple roles. Some actors played multiple characters in the show. Talk about your role as assistant director and how you helped to shape those relationships and those interactions on stage.
Yeah, I think that my role was a lot of little detail things, which is great because that's what I like to do anyways. I think that's why I really like working with you, is you have a really great sense of big picture and arc. And then I like to pull apart and nitpick, and to ask actors, like, you said that line, and I just wonder if what you mean by it. And to have actors who were, again, find that balance of ego enough to say, I don't know, was refreshing to be like, okay, I didn't think you knew. I don't know either, but let's dig through this and figure it out. What is he not saying in that line? Or what is he thinking and then not saying? And why is that punctuation mark like that? Why isn't it an exclamation mark? And could it have been a question mark? And so, oh man, it drives actors nuts sometimes, but these actors were willing to play. And so that was my role.
I'd love to hear from you guys. Does that drive you nuts? Or is that
They were really
like?
good actors. They acted like it didn't drive
Maybe,
them nuts.
yeah.
Well, you're talking about scansion of the verse, and there was written into the fabric of the play, the paragraphs. I wish we could show it, but the paragraphs were designed, at least for Lee Teabing, where like you start your breath here and you end your breath here, because it's 6 sentences that you're going to have to say, and if you stop, then everything comes to a grinding halt.
Right.
But in talking about ego, this was, it'd been roughly 5.5 years since I set foot on stage. I'm relatively new to the Erie Playhouse. I was terrified to audition for this place in high school. And if you're in high school watching right now, it's not that bad. Audition. But yeah, this has been my first year here. So I literally knew everyone and no one. in this. And it was such a great moment to just like come and do a show with the family, as it were. But yeah, I mean, sometimes paragraphs, periods, all that absolutely drive me insane.
I was going to say, I'll pass to you, then I'll pass to you. I love notes. And I think maybe this is just me. I could have stayed for hours just to pick both of your brains because you gave such good feedback. And so often when shows are very complex and there's lots going on, there's just not a lot of time to dive into character and understand motivations or subtext. And I just am so grateful that we had both of you to be able to talk to you at the end, because there are times, I mean, as myself, that I'm going, I hope this worked. Here, I'm going to explain it to you. Do you agree? And to have that, like, either the agreement or I don't, but here's what I think. It's so helpful to have a different perspective and to have two different perspectives from two great minds of the
and
Erie
sometimes
theater.
opposing perspectives, and we
But
are
that's
the
what makes
first to
it
admit
great
that,
is that there's never really a wrong decision. You know, you can go 10 ways with it, and in acting with everybody, you find new ways to go. But that's why it was such a wonderful process, was not only with the two directors, but then, you know, everybody else has been a director in their own right and has an opinion on how it should go, and it's just nice to have those options.
And I do think there's sometimes a misconception, particularly maybe with well, I was going to say with newer or younger actors, but I don't think that's even true. But I think there's a misconception that notes mean you did something wrong, right?
Yes.
And as a director, I feel the exact opposite. I mean, sometimes it's correcting a specific thing. More often than not, it's, I love what you're doing. What if, right? What if we try this? Or what if you punch up this to give it a little more impact? Or, you know, that's what I love as a director. And I think, you know, actors, if again, on that subject of ego, if you set aside that idea of ego and that misconception that notes are a correction for a mistake you made rather than a suggestion or an area of exploration.
One of my favorite activities, which we didn't do, which I wanted to do, but we just didn't have time, is this very ego balanced activity. Okay. So what you do is I call it an understudy rehearsal, but you don't necessarily have understudies. And you have to have an ensemble of people who are like enough ego to know that they're, you know, I deserve to be here, and not too much ego. And you say like, look, I can't get this scene. Can you read it? And then everybody sits and you pass it to someone else in the cast who wouldn't play that part necessarily, and you watch what they do. And then you steal what works, because sometimes you have to step outside of it to watch it, to hear it in a new voice. And then the other person in the scene gets to play on different impulses. And it's such a great activity, and it's hard to do because you got to like make sure everybody's going to be cool, man, about a lot of things real fast.
Well, JP and then Kyle, I know you're trying to get a word in, and we're such a talkative group.
Sorry.
But
on that note, I mean, there was a very specific moment that I remember. There was a page,
77?
77.
77.
There,
Page
that,
77. We all know it well now.
that I kind of had to throw it into fifth gear and gun the thing and just stay on one bead the entire time. And I was having a lot of trouble with it until you walked down to the stage and said, it's about misogyny at this moment. And I remember that. And I didn't exactly understand the note dealing with the thing. But then all of a sudden, Teabing started to get a lot angrier at Kate for having a family that was trying to protect her, or Sophie, sorry. Yeah. I leave my
out of your mouth.
I'm sorry.
Careful.
I leave my rage for Kate off the stage. But yeah, but it was that moment where, oh, okay. And it bled into me being able to say the right lines at the right time about 90% of the time, you know, because it was a furious page, right? Lee,
The writer
Lee,
did not do
No.
you help there.
Lee.
yeah, Lee.
I real quick, I want to mention this real quick. Judy Matthews, our great Judy Matthews, just got done telling the youth theater to watch the people on stage, watch the pros, and watch and learn. I've been doing this 30 years. I've been performing on the Erie Playhouse stage for 30 years. I watched
Yeah.
I watched and I learned. That gentleman, JP, is a master class to be on stage with. And if anybody who can think that they know it all, or they've done it, or they've got 50 years experience in theater and they can't be taught anything, you can always be taught. There are always people to learn things from. I learned a ton from being on stage with him.
Yeah, absolutely.
As I did from all of you. And I don't mean that in any other way except the facts, truly.
And I think we always say too that so much of acting is reacting.
Yes.
And I think of the scenes that I'd be in with you specifically on the couch where you're the one talking about history and I can just react like a normal person and not have to worry about, oh God, what date do I have to say next, or what time period, or what number do I have to say, and being able to like just listen to your fervor and then just sit back and truly react every night is so much fun because it changes. It's never the same.
I really don't think I'm ever going to forget some of these lines.
Well,
And-
now they're in there,
And
right?
yeah, I mean, well, they had to be cemented to the point,
Yeah.
Of course, you're right, as are the gatherings held by the Council of Nicaea, where
Okay. I'm gonna
elements
cut you off
like
there
forever.
before we end
Yeah,
up-
I mean, the next 15. Oh yeah, we don't have the rights.
Yeah. Kyle, did you want to interject your point from like 20 minutes ago?
It was on the topic of ego.
Yeah.
Because I think, to your point, you have to be able to trust that you belong, which, not everyone always does. I know that there were moments where I was like, do I belong here? Am I what's wrong here? Kinky Boots fans will know what that
Yep, got
reference
it.
is. But we don't have, yeah, that's why I spoke it.
Okay.
But like having the two of you where I don't think at any point you ever blew smoke, either of you, but I think it was like very constructive feedback where it was like, what you're doing works. But then even like 2 weeks before we opened, you were like, can you try an accent? Because I was not doing an accent at all through rehearsals. And I think those little things, you made a comment to me about like my hair, because I have brown hair and I bleached it for this. And then you made the comment about the accent, and then I put on the robe, and like the things that you guys were saying were just kind of gently paving the way. And I think ego goes hand in hand with trust in this case, because it's like you do have to trust that the people in charge are not going to lead you astray and tell you that you're great if you suck.
Well, and I think we both tend to come into productions with the mindset that as a director, it is not my job to have all of the answers, right? It is to lead the process of exploring the piece and of coming to a solution together.
I think it can frustrate some actors too, because
Absolutely.
they think you have a secret plan
Or like we're
that
holding
I'm
it back,
trying,
right?
that I'm
Yeah.
trying to manipulate. I do not.
Right.
A lot of directing is also reacting. I think you do a really good job of having a really great, grand, big picture for sure. And that was it's always nice to work with you, because I know we can rely on that. If we're ever at like, I don't know what to do in this
Is it
part,
time to compliment
we
Zach?
go
Are we
back
doing
to
that?
your,
Sorry.
to your
Yes, we will pass the microphone and each person says one thing
One
nice
nice
about
I think
about
them.
our
Zach.
bad
It's
cop,
my
bad cop
special
routine
day.
really works.
No, and again,
but-
I'll turn that around and say, as you've already mentioned, that
Do you want us to leave?
no, you're fine.
No, compliment us.
Just be quiet so I can no that attention to detail that you talked about is so useful, because I know I get laser focused feels like the wrong way of saying it, but on the big picture. And so I'm not hearing those little nitty gritty things that jump out at you and that you are able to help bring to the surface. We mentioned this idea of this extra character in the show being the projections and how important that was. And again, part of my role as the director was very much working with Brittany and collaborating with her and figuring out, when do we need to use visuals simply because we need to establish the location, versus when do we need to really bring to life something that is in that very bogged down text. And you all know from looking at the script, and one of the most frequent questions we got from the audience was how much of what happened on the screens was spelled out in the script, how much was provided versus how much did you all bring to it. And so I want to clear that up, and then I want to show the trailer so people can see a little bit of that in action. But the short answer to the one piece is nothing was provided in terms of, this isn't like a pre-licensed package where you rent the projections and point them at the screen and you're good to go. Brittany created everything from scratch. And then the other piece of that is there are moments where the script does say things like, the numbers appear. What does that mean? What do you do with that? Right. And there were times where I would say to Brittany, yeah, the numbers need to appear. I don't know where or how or what that should look like. And then Brittany brought that to life. So with that said, let's take a look at the trailer from Da Vinci Code. Of course, we are all talkers, so I know we could talk and talk about this show and this process forever, and we'll go a little bit longer. But I do want to give an update right now that we have reached $56,125.
Awesome.
That is excellent. Really grateful for all of you giving your support today. Again, eriegives.org or by phone at 814-454-0843, or drop that donation off at the Community Foundation, 459 West 6th Street by the Big Acorn. All right, folks. So we took a look at the trailer. I want to hear from you guys. Obviously, I know everyone, we were in this, you especially as cast members, were in an interesting spot where you didn't really know what was going to be on those screens until they were on the screens. And a lot of times, yeah, you still don't, because when you're that close to it, you don't get a sense for the whole visual. So talk a little bit more about that element, about that 11th member of the company that was the projection.
I think it completely elevated every element of the production. I like the set we're sitting on the set of Cats right now, which I saw the other night, and it was stunning. Yeah. You can, I think when I think of projections, like even on Broadway or whatever, you can sometimes think like, oh, it looks lazy, or it takes you out of it. Mm-hmm. You obviously don't get to see the show that you're in. I looked at all the Rick Klein photos when they came out, and I was like, this looks incredible. Yeah. And it complemented the outfits and like the look of the characters, and it created an entire world that we didn't even get to see throughout the rehearsal process. Yeah. It was all a little bit intangible, but like visually, I got so many compliments. Not me, Brittany got so many compliments, but like the production was complimented so much by the audience. It looked incredible. Yeah.
I think that reading the book, and every time Robert Langdon or Sophie get Sophia,
whoever
means wisdom, every time they solve something, you are sort of along the ride with them in the book. Mm-hmm. You get that sense of exhilaration. The projections did that in ours, and we would describe it, but there's a point where you have to be able to imagine it.
Right.
And that's what not only the projections did, but your choice of music really amplified the excitement of when Robert would be figuring things out, or there'd be a new numeric sequence unlocked. And I think that was an extension of when you get a chance to read the novel as a first-time reader of Da Vinci Code. I remember way back when, just every time that there was a revelation, just having that goosebump feeling. And I think Brittany absolutely nailed that.
And I think this is a good time too to shout out all of the folks running lights and sound and everything else. So we had, in addition to Brittany running the projection cues, we had Abby running sound as well, Abby Kopic. We had MJ Stemka in the light booth, adding that additional element. And for all of our productions, again, talk about the sort of unsung heroes, right? These folks who commit their time and energy and talents, and a lot of them coming in not having experience, but being willing to learn how to do those things. I know MJ was so nervous every night about, I've never done lights before. Absolutely nailed it, right? Did a wonderful job. And so, there are so many folks who contribute so many things to productions like this.
I was able to actually see Brittany do a full run through of
Mhm.
all of the projections that happened. And it was kind of in that moment where I realized that we had a full show, because I don't know how you could do the Da Vinci Code without having that element.
Right.
Like, I don't know that the play would be as successful as it
No.
was, with all of this stuff, because people know the movie, people know the book. It was like the largest selling book in 2006.
Yeah.
But the addition of everything that was moving behind us, and we're sharing an intimate moment. It's amazing. You're in the center of this massive house, and when you're talking to two other people on stage in the center part, you don't really hear anything else.
Right.
Like, the world is so very small on this stage and very intimate for a play, but what was happening behind us was just massive, and I think it contributed to the enormity and the insanity of where Robert Langdon's character was going, trying to figure out the clue.
She was so smart. The colors really gave it like that early 2000s Matrix feel.
Mhm.
So it made you, the audience, feel like you were in on it. And then the timing of the reveals made the audience like think of the solution right before the actors said it.
Yeah.
So the audience always felt like
A
really,
step
really
ahead.
smart,
Yeah.
which is
absolutely.
really great. Even like, you've read the books, you know what's happening, but even in that moment, you're like, aha,
Yeah.
ooh, I'm a genius.
Yeah.
Apple.
And I think she put it together in 4 days, like
Pretty much,
start to finish.
right? I mean,
4
we
days.
had talked, but until she's in the space and able to really interact with everybody, it was a lot of work at the very end, and so impressive. And I'd worked with her before and knew that she absolutely had the ability to do that, but I was still just absolutely blown away.
And the costumes were really smart too.
Yes.
And they played with
Yeah.
that style too. Everyone like
Yep.
that workwear 2000s
Yeah.
look. It was so good. And the color scheme and like
Yep.
following the blues to the family. It was good.
So
It was good.
we started this segment a little bit later, and I know we do have a 6:00 segment coming up, and I don't want to bump up against it. So I just want to give you guys an opportunity to share some final thoughts if you have anything you want to throw out there yet.
Well, if you don't mind,
Yeah.
I'd like to challenge our watchers to a new, maybe a new total. Do you have an update right now?
We're still at 56,125.
So I thought about, what would I like to see,
Oh,
and
boy.
what would the audience like to see? And I thought I would offer this for
Oh,
every
boy.
dollar that we raise in Erie Gives.
Every
for
dollar?
every dollar,
Uh-huh.
that will be 1 minute that Patrick Thiem will not dance on the stage.
Ooh.
1 minute. So if we raise $525,600, I will not dance on the stage next year. That's 600. That's right.
It
That's
goes a
how
little bit
many
of
Crazy.
minutes.
He just knew that.
How did you
number.
know that number?
I had to look it up.
Amazing.
For $75,000, though, it's something a little
my
more
gosh.
attainable. For $75,000, I will strap Richard to a chair on the stage and I will wobble in with him.
Whoa.
That's
That's a dance.
Oh, that's,
Yeah,
that's
that's
a
a
dance.
dance.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
yeah.
I didn't
He
like
will
that.
not
We
wobble
might
at
get
home.
there. That might happen.
That does not happen at home.
Yeah.
He
Kyle,
has sworn off the wobble.
you have something to say to that, or something?
I'm speechless.
Hopefully, something completely unrelated.
I don't know how I can follow that. To be honest with you.
I don't
Very
either.
carefully.
I don't either. Well, hey guys, I want to thank you all. I mean, it was such a fun experience to work on this production with you. Thank you for coming in today. It was fun to kind of relive this a few, months after we wrapped the show, but look forward to working with you all again in the future. So again, we're right now at $56,125. You can make those gifts at eriegives.org through midnight, or by phone by 8 p.m. by calling 814-454-0843, or head over to the Community Foundation at 459 West 6th Street and drop off that check in person. We will take about 10 minutes or so. Wow, we went a little long, guys. We will be back at 6:00 with more to come right here from the Playhouse stage. Thanks for supporting us during Erie Gives, and we'll see you soon.